Welcome to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show. Now, if there's one thing that gets the pulse racing, it gets the heart pounding, what? No, not that type of heart pounding, that's the weather girl. That's something different, that's a different type of pounding there. If there's one thing that gets a fisherman's heart pounding, it's the sight of, in your hands, a lovely silver bar, a bass, metallic sheen to it, spikes, big mouth, flaring gills, it's ready to come and kill something. Something about the bass being a supreme predator, a great fighter, and of course it eats particularly well. We honestly like to put them back, we will keep one or two for eating because they are good eating. One of the best places to go and catch them is an island. I went over there with my son Michael and found a brand new technique that we'd never used before. The bait we needed for those? Well, you had to catch it first. Let's get over there and see how we got on. A good way to spot if there's mackerel about, especially in a rough sea, is look for the seabirds. Birds like the gannet, one of the best fish catching birds you're ever going to see. On this occasion, a couple of us went out aboard one of Mark Gannon's boats from Courtmacsherry. The lads here were going out to do some anchoring, but our job was to try and catch some live mackerel to fish back in the estuary, because it was very rough out at sea this day, trying to catch mackerel for bait for bass. Once you get some mackerel on the feathers, you need to get them over the side, especially if you're going to be using them as live bait, and these are nice fresh mackerel. Get them into a live tank, a live bait tank there. Now this is really, I think, a converted fish box that Mark's been using, and we did notice there when we were getting the mackerel on this particular trip, they did not want big feathers. They wanted tiny little shrimp type feathers. That's all they could be caught on that particular day, which is surprising when you think how rough it is. And also those same feathers popular with the pollock. Not that we wanted them, these are not a great live bait, they're okay to use for conger bait, but they really are, well, a sport fish. You can catch them, eat them, or you can return them. Once we got enough mackerel filled up in the live tank, you either keep changing the water to keep them alive while we got back on the mooring, or you get a bubbler, an aerator, a pump that blasts oxygen into that tank, trying to keep the mackerel as live as you can. And then we went back inside to the relative sanctuary of the estuary at Courtmacsherry, anchored the boat, and then the skipper and the crewmate, yes, they totally deserted us and just left me and Mike on the boat for fishing for bass. Okay, and when you want to fish around those moorings, the sort of tackle you can get away with is actually quite light. Don't forget, you might only be in 6 feet of water, up to about 15 or 20, depending where that boat is actually physically moored. Over here in Courtmacsherry Bay, Southern Island, there's lots of different boats around. They're all different hole shapes. I feel sure that maybe the sandals and the small bait fish and the whitefish get up underneath the holes. They're moving through all the time, and the bass harry them, chase them down, and you've got to be in the right place. Anyway, one of the rigs they use over here, they can use a bubble float or just a plain orange bubble float like this. Now, bubble float, in case people don't know, the way they've rigged it here is a regular sort of link swivel, snap swivel from the rod. The same below the float because it's got 2 rings there, but it's also got, so those who don't know, now I don't know if I can get this out there, no, there you go. You can see that it's got a little hole there. You can fill that, you can use it empty, like a straight bubble, or you can fill it with water. Different grades of water in there will obviously give you different casting weights. They're very old school plastic bubble floats. They used to use them a lot for mullet, for bass fishing. They just get you out there, and generally they're clear. I'll show you a clear one in a minute. That's so the fish can't see it. This is so they can see it visually in the fast estuary current here. From there they run about 6, that looks like about 8 feet of something like 15 or 20 pound mono. Now the bass around here, you know, they're not hammered all the time, so and they're around the boats, so they're used to activity, to engines, to boats, to movement. You know, they're not particularly that spooky, so you get away with 20 pound mono. So they go from that swivel below the float down to another swivel here, barrel short, about halfway I guess it looks like. That's so they can change traces if they want to go lighter, if the fish are in very clear water and are, maybe they do get finicky. I'm saying they're not finicky, but that's me. Then a drilled bullet, right, that's fixed here, or a giant split shot, which this one is a giant split shot, just to give you a bit of weight. It's not to cock the float. The float doesn't need to cock, it just sits on the surface. It suspends the bait at a depth to stop that bait getting down on the bottom. You don't want it on the bottom where the crabs will just strip it. From there, they go down to just a regular hook. Now, that's an offset hook there. You could use a straight hook, you know, so it doesn't spin in the current. But the specialist bait they use here, two things. They use a launce, which is a greater sand eel, a very big bait about this big. Look, bass love small sand eels. They eat the lesser sand eels with relish, but they will eat anything else. They also will take small joey mackerel, or they tell me here, full size 3/4 pound and pound mackerel. Now then, you may say, well, they don't get very big bass doing that. I'll tell you what, the biggest bass in Courtmacsherry that I saw on Mark Gannon's boat, I think we're aboard it now, on his mooring, over 16 pounds on that. I think that one was on a whole mackerel, I'm not sure. It was certainly off the moorings. We're going to put the mackerel on, we're going to run it back, a nice live bait. Those live bait tanks are in the back, they're all bubbling, full of mackerel. We'll wire one out there and see what we can catch. That is another bubble float, quite a large one. You can see the little holes there. You can actually see a little peg inside there. If I pull this one out, can't even get that one out, but there's a peg to stop it pulling right out. A little T end to stop you losing it. If you lose that, it will fill with water, and that's the end of that. So don't forget, if you fill that right up with water, it will still float, but you will be able to cast it a very long way. And over here in Courtmacsherry Bay, what they do is a lot of the shore anglers go out with waders, chest wading. They use a bubble float, 6 or 8 feet of mono, and either an eel behind, you know, a live eel, or a red gill behind. Fire it out a long way and wind it across the surface, and that doesn't spook the bass. That's another method of doing it. Okay, we've been out this morning. We went out to try and catch some more launce. Of course, we don't get launce. Well, we had launce yesterday. I can show you. When I say they are the greater sand eel, they're almost weighing in and photographing themselves. I could hold that one out like that. Look, how big is that for an eel? The regular sand eel's a lot smaller, but that's the launce or the greater sand eel, which you can catch on really small feathers, like a shrimp feather, not the big mackerel feathers. Occasionally you'll foul hook them, but they will actually take a very, very tiny shrimp feather. Right, we went out and we loaded up with some mackerel. Oh, that's heavy. This is normally a fish box. They've got a pump going here as well. I think I might push that down before it goes all over me. To give it a circulation pump. If you do get any mackerel, I'm going to fish one out here, and it's dead like that one, stiff as a board, take it out. And also don't put any mackerel in there. I heard Mark the skipper say, don't put mackerel in the live bait tank if they're bleeding. I guess it kills the others. So I'm going to dip one out. Another little tip they say, I mean I've used loads of these for marlin fishing and we do just grab them, is try and hold them with a net. Don't hold them with your hand, because so they say the heat from your skin can burn them and it may, you know, they die quicker. Me personally, I'm not sure I adhere to that because I caught loads of marlin and tuna. Some people lip hook them. I personally go through the nasal cavity, which is where we marlin fish, just through the front there. You can see that there. He will swim pretty well all day. And you don't need to cast him. Take him out, drop him over the side, get him in the water as fast as you can. And you can see the current here. He's swimming around as fast as you want. Now, you think he wants to get under the boat. He doesn't actually want to get under the boat. He wants to swim into the current. That's what he wants to do. So you just feed it out, a rod length out, and as soon as he starts pulling, let that float go away. So you just feed it out, but listen, keep your finger on the spool. You could get a slamming take at any moment. As soon as you put that live bait in the water, especially in the evenings, bam, they could nail it. Feed it back, don't run it back too far, because if there's a strong estuary current like there is here, you've got to fight that bass all the way back again. And they come, literally, they tell me, underneath the boat. Close the bail arm, slacken the drag off, put the rod in the rod holder. sit back and enjoy. Something interesting here on the flood tide, you can just see that white foamy line, and if you look, there's a demarcation line between the clear water, which is on the opposite side by the sandbank, and the slightly off brown estuary water that's come down from the river, just on the inside. Now look at this white boat. Now just on the edge of that, almost on the stern of that boat, you can actually see the difference, the line, dividing line, as the fresh seawater comes in on that new flood tide. And you can actually see brown on the inside and clearer on the outside. That's a great sign. The other method they use over here at Courtmac is drop your lead down. You have a lead on a piece of, say, 15-20 pound mono to your French boom. There's the French boom there. And this is designed to really for pollock fishing offshore, so you don't have the line spinning up and tangling around your main line, but they use it here to catch these bass off the moorings. Obviously from here upwards goes to my rod top, that goes down to the lead, and from the end of the boom here is my trace. Could be 6, 8, 10 feet long, whatever you want to use depending on the pace of the current. Obviously as the current dies, the fish might swim down to the bottom. You need to wind it off the bottom even further. You don't want crabs getting it. That goes to the hook there. Same principle. You just nose hook or lip hook a mackerel and run it back. That way you've got the option of a float up on the top with a, with a bait a little way down, or this one pinning it down 2 feet above the bottom, or at least the length from the boom to the lead is off the bottom, out of the way of the crabs. In this case, I'm going to try to be using a dead launce. Okay, if you use a live launce, the first thing is, I probably wouldn't be holding it, it'll be snaking everywhere. Make sure you get a good grip on them. Now when you hook them, you can either go through, this is just how I do it with sandals, different ways. You can go just in front of the eye sockets there, right? You can go through there, pop it through that piece of bone. There's a little bit of bone at the top, gives it quite a good, a pulling point to tow the bait, as if it's live. And of course, their mouth can move. Some people tend to go through both jaws with a wide gape hook, hoping the fish can still stay alive, like this, where their mouth can move, as you can see. But the other way I like to do it is to go through the bottom of the throat latch, out through the centre of the top. Everything's got to be straight if you're going to be using dead baits in a current. It's just like sort of trolling, as it were. In through the back, out, but you always put a little nick down there, like that, so that when you pull it down, the hook fits in there snugly, and everything should pull like that, nice and straight in the current. And if they've been in the fish box a while, they get rigor mortis and they come out like this. Don't put them out bent, they're only going to spin. Just get your hands and do this with them, snake them, so that you sort of break up the backbone a bit, and you can see the different shapes you can get them in. That loosens it all up, and it's got plenty of what I call wiggle ability. What you do is you just lower your bait, either a mackerel or in this case, just to show you how it's done, I've got there a big launce, a big giant sandhill there, the greater sandhill. You lower it down and you can actually see the lead is 2 feet away from the French boom there, which you can see pointing towards the sandhill. And as you lower it down very slowly, that current is pulling it all out straight behind you. And that's what we were doing with both live and dead baits. Another totally awesome tip, just my tip, that's all. Don't just fire that bait straight to the bottom, because it could have a spin in it. Just leave it in the water and look at it and just watch it for 4 or 5 seconds. And if it's doing all this, don't even waste your time. The bass isn't going to take that. You want it fairly static, or if it does rotate, very, very slowly. You do not want spinning baits. Most fish, freshwater or sea, will not take a bait that spins. Feed it down. You'll feel the leads hit the bottom. I'm already 2 feet off the bottom, don't forget, because I've got 2 feet of nylon. I'm going to take 2 turns up, loosen the drag, so the lead is actually hanging in the current. Place the rod in the holder, just like that. Now, I don't check the drag too much, because otherwise I'm going to be back on the bottom again and, defeats the object. You're just letting it hang in the current. Also, as the tide fills up, here it might be 10 or 12 feet, rise and fall, don't forget. Check it every 20 minutes or so, because as the tide comes up, we'll be getting higher and higher in the water. The reverse is true, of course. If the tide's dropping, you might end up with a load of slack, a bait that falls on the bottom, Crabville. Guys, you just had a take, howling wind. It's a whole mackerel. I would probably lose it, but you don't know. But let's give it a go. He's still trying to eat it. I can feel him banging away at it. It's a big, big, big bait. About a pound mackerel. Don't know how long you're supposed to leave these things. All new to me. Bait this size. No, we missed him. No, he spat it out. By any stretch of the imagination, I couldn't be called a tackle tart. I will use anything and everything to avoid spending any money. But something I came across here was in the skipper's cabin, so I raided it. He's left just me and Mike on the boat. We're moored, we can't go anywhere. Are these things which I've never seen before. Obviously I've seen shop dispensers, I'm not that archaic and Neanderthal, but these ones are called crimp-on sinkers. Now I'll tell you what, I could see these being used in situations, float fishing, ledgering. They're just like a little cylinder with a tag end over each side. It's got a slot in the middle of the cylinder into which you slide the line like that, and then you just fold each end of the lead over, and you can squeeze it with your fingers. I just give it a nip with the next trip to the dentist. And there you are. That's a really nice way, quite streamlined I'd say as well for fishing with. An extra little bit of weight for getting that sand eel, anything down, anything, not just for this bass fishing or any type of fishing at all. I see that as a very handy little weight. Fish, fish, fish.
Don't worry.
That's a big bass.
No.
This is a big bass.
Swearing, guys. Sorry about the wind, but I've got a chocolate bar halfway down my mouth.
This is a nice bass.
And we have waited
3, 4, have to be real colours because we don't know how he's got the other line. I'm going to net him. We're going to have to mess around with this, guys. There's nobody here. Watch that small hook, right? You're probably not going to see the net in it because I'm
sorry about this, guys, but we need to get this fish in the boat.
Absolutely no way.
Just as you said, that water change.
Colour change. Look, not too much, not too much. Use the tip of the rod, Mike. Use the tip of the rod.
I am.
Let's take a whole dead mackerel. It's not even a live bait.
No, it's just hanging in his mouth.
He's ripping in the current. I don't know if we're going to get it. I'm going to show it to you in case it comes off, guys.
I think I've got round this.
Don't worry about that one.
Mackerel's just hanging there.
I know, that means the hook's hanging there, mate. That means the hook's hanging there. That's a
nice bass.
But totally awesome. This could be a jumbo bass.
Oh, he's just hanging there. Let's try and net him. I can't put any more pressure on him, so I'm going to walk back. You up with the net?
I don't know, it just won't lock.
I'm walking back, so you just be able to skip him. Ready?
Slowly.
Yeah! Look at that! That's a chunking great bass!
Oh, look at that bass!
Get in!
Oh man,
that could be a PB bass.
That's your PB bass, 100%.
That is a PB bass.
Jeez.
Look at that!
H Christ!
Wow, that has been a long time coming.
Well, that's been. You've been asleep.
Yeah. That is a clonker. No wonder they use big baits. Well, there we go, folks. That is a totally awesome bass. Look at the size of the bait that it's taken.
That's ridiculous.
That's a chunky bait, on its own. But it's got to go 7-8 pounds. I said nearly 8 pounds. This fish. What an absolute clonking bass! Brilliant take. It just steamed off. It absolutely stripped line. There's the dorsal fin there. They got the spikes on the end of it. They got spikes all over bass. Good eating fish. Spikes on the dorsal there. Spikes on the edge of the gills down here. Some there. And underneath as well, just down there, there's a spike as well, just to be wary of it. Cracking fish. Awesome.